Hi, Lisa McBunny Inc. here. So I just woke up about 20 minutes or half an hour ago. Um, I woke up with all my socks, on a bunch beside me, and I've been having problems with break-ins in the middle of the night, and because I'm so out cold, not from drugs, just I don't know. I seem to have, from medication and stuff, seem to experience some sort of brain effect that is causing me to pass out completely at night where I'm unconscious. I don't hear anything. And whoever is breaking into my apartment has cut my hair. They've, you know, taken off my clothing. Yeah, so I don't know how they're getting in. I've been playing around with ideas that it's actually on some sort of spiritual level. Can't remember where I heard it, but I heard that the World War III would be a spiritual war as opposed to a physical war, and I'm beginning to believe that some cultures in particular um, are trained in the black arts, have learned to manipulate reality in the spirit world. Anyway, this is all sort of things I'm trying to figure out in order to protect myself from whoever's doing this. I did also wake up extremely sore. I'm in a lot of pain, sort of in this area here, right in this area here. Sort of, this is my waist, so kind of in here. I'm also aware that I have like a pain, like um, in here. It could be bowels, but I in the dollar store, for example, I've discovered that they're marketing vinegar in two different forms. So there's a cleaning version of vinegar and there's an edible version, and I decided to buy the cleaning one just to see. And I think sometimes the cleaning one is in the regular section, and the edible one is in the cleaning section, because again, I feel like some people are hiding products, um, hiding them for their own, people that are in their own circle, and they're allowing other people to um, essentially get very sick from um, the products that are not there. So I'm in a lot of pain. Um, so again, I could be suffering from too much acid from the vinegar. Just a thought. It could be cramping in general. So I do keep on hand usually an antacid. I a long time ago, Pepcid, PECID, I believe Pepcid did. Maybe there's more D's in there. It's an over-the-counter antacid. I find it very effective. Too much acid can also um, feel like a gnawing hunger. So if you find you're more hungry than usual, and you're like, why am I hungry? Not normally hungry first thing in the morning. It could be too much acid. So yeah, I suggest an antacid. Like I said, Pepcid has worked for me, and I keep, the pack in my medicine cabinet just for these times. So I'll probably try that first because that seems the most logical choice, and it's also could be bowels. So walking or massaging my belly, um, where the pain is, that can be extremely painful if there's a blockage. But yeah, I find massaging my belly, laying on my belly, massaging where my kidneys are, so right where it's hurting right now. So maybe it is bowel, could be bowel, because that seems to be. And so yeah, so that's sort of my stomach remedy today. And also, I was also thinking, you know, different movies have affected me over the years, and one was Groundhog Day with what's his name? Can't remember his name. Very good actor, comedian. Anyway, Groundhog Day is about uh, a gentleman who keeps waking up on the same, like he experiences the same day over and over and over again. And part of the story is the woman he's interested in. Every day he wakes up and he tries a different method to essentially get her to love him physically. And anyway, he keeps getting slapped because he keeps approaching it wrong. And I won't tell you the punchline, but I've been sort of throwing around the idea that what if we never get off this planet, in the sense that this is heaven and hell all wrapped up into one, and it is what you make it, like they said. So right now I seem to be very, very influenced by the negative energy on the planet. um, I'm feeling like everyone's taking pictures of me, and I feel like I can't go out in public. um, you know uh, yeah, feeling horribly alone and isolated, finding it difficult to connect with people. Um, do not trust people. Homewood Health Center and Southwest Center for Forensic Science forcibly injected me, like security guards held me down forcefully and like 60 times. So my trust is completely gone in human beings. You can say whatever you want. I don't care. I don't believe a word you're saying, pretty much. Different things like people I haven't seen in years, just sort of randomly places. And I used to think that coincidences were God's way of remaining anonymous. Now I'm like, why are you here? It's like, I was just thinking about you yesterday, but why are you in this spot? You know, it doesn't make sense. You're not really doing anything here. So what are you doing here? Right. So things like that. I'm not enjoying that coincidences. So I've been thinking about, what if this is it? What if, death is simply like the Asians say is you change forms, but essentially you come back here, and it's maybe not a punishment. Maybe it's to learn permanence, almost that you stay here forever, essentially, which is a very difficult concept when you're unhappy. A very difficult concept, because I'm like, I just want the F off this fucking planet. But what if there is no exit off this planet? So, or wherever we are, this state of being, whatever this is. Um, so I've been thinking, if I think about being in this level of pain forever, I think, oh my God, I can't do another second, which would, in fact, um, force me to exit this body and get another one, right? I mean, if this one's so decrepit that it won't function properly in whatever I have to do in my daily basis, like daily things such as grocery shopping and feeding myself, and you know um, the entertaining myself or whatever, or exercise. If I can't do any of those things, then yes, I would be forced to give up this body and go to another one. So it's made you know getting up in the morning and feeling enormously in pain. It's put a new swing on things. When I wake up in the morning and I think, God, I have to exercise every morning just to be able to function. Well, yes, you do now, because you neglected to do that at the beginning, and now you have to do it, right? So, but if it had become a habit of mine since birth, you know, it would seem entirely different, which, you know, I think we've done. Like I was sharing with friends that, I haven't spent a lot of time considering how we die or when we die. I haven't considered that a lot. And if you speak to people about it, they tell you to go put yourself on antidepressants because you're depressed, and you're thinking too much about death, so you shouldn't do that. And that's basically what I was told, because other people are afraid of the concept of losing myself or someone they love to death. So anyway, so I've been thinking, um, in the 12 steps, they teach you to stay in the moment, that um, the only real time we have is in this moment. The future isn't, I mean, I suppose it's real in some sense, and, it's possible they've done time travel, and, because that's the other thing. I feel like the people that are antagonizing me seem to have some sort of advance notice of where I'll be. Uh, Right. So, like, when I go somewhere and there's someone random, I'm like, how did you know I was even going to be here? Now, maybe for them it's coincidental too. That's how I've sort of played it up until now. But now it's just seeming weird to me. So, and I'm not enjoying it. But I suppose I could reframe it and try to get the most out of that interaction. It happened to me before, these weird coincidences, and I was like, well, whether it's the devil creating it or God creating it, I suppose I could turn it into good, which I tried to do. another thing to consider. If it's weird, maybe try and name it, or yeah, be honest about it. Maybe the other person is experiencing the same sort of weirdness in their life, and they're running around hiding it. I feel if we're all sort of en masse, you know, raising our vibrational level, which I've heard about, or just as a culture needing to expand our spiritual life, because the world we have right now is becoming defunct. The working 9 to 5 purposeless jobs. Just to find ourselves at the end going, what the hell am I doing here? Our grandkids don't want to be with us, or our kids are dying. Whatever. You know, um, we're being victimized, our children are being victimized, and all the rest of it. So or having to pick a career that they don't want to do anymore. They don't want to work, so they're living with us forever. So I feel like en masse we're having to discover more of a spiritual, um, I don't know, a spiritual drive. So yeah, so I'm gonna work on this idea that I mean I had a 80-year plan for my hair, so to live until I was 120, and that's I was going to keep this haircut. It's like because I pick compulsively, and I find when I keep it like shaved closer, it seems to be a, a texture thing. It seems to be a texture thing because um uh, I wasn't breastfed because I was adopted, and it seems to create all kinds of dysfunction, such as smoking, like oral fixation, such as smoking and nail biting and picking. I think I don't know about picking possibly, because when we're infants, we do that sort of clawing feeling around the nipple, which seems to be a hand sensory thing, and then the mouth. And so I find if I keep something in my hands, a rubber ball or a healing stone or something, and I roll it in my hands. I've also tried like a dowel, like a little piece of wood or whatever, for the smoking problem, although that seems to feel too much like smoking. So I've kind of given that up again. But yeah, definitely like, rolling things in my hands to keep my hands busy. Shuffling a deck of cards works for me too. Keeps my hands busy when I'm waiting or when I don't feel I have much to do. It keeps me a little bit more grounded. Um, I'm finding that having things that I enjoy, such as food, keeping some basics on hand. The three I've picked have been oatmeal, sugar, and coffee, because I can drink coffee without cream if absolutely necessary, but I can't stand oatmeal without sugar, and I can't stand coffee without sugar. So if I keep oatmeal and like oats and um, coffee and sugar on hand at all times, then um, I might do better, just at the end of the month when the money runs out, kind of thing. Buy enough of the oats, sugar, and coffee to do me all the way through the month. Maybe keep track of how much I use, and reasonably how much I use, um, and buy those three things. So at least all through the month, I have something I enjoy. So that you don't reach the end of the month and you're literally pulling your hair out because there's nothing to eat, and all that you have no money to go buy a coffee and a donut or whatever. So um, that's where I'm finding I am right now. Anyway. So I've been thinking that's my list of three, and because I mean I can eat oatmeal with margarine, a little bit of olive oil, some fruit, cinnamon, you know, anything really that I might jam. You put some jam in it. I've even tried to put peanut butter in it too. You can, if you have those three staple things, oatmeal, sugar, and coffee, then yeah, you can doctor it up. You can even probably do a bit of baking with the oats and the coffee and the sugar. If you have flour that month, or you trade someone for flour, they have this and you need flour, so get a couple cups of flour off someone, and you can make an apple crumble with flour, oats, and sugar, all in equal parts, and then slice up some apples, put it on the bottom, and margarine. I believe you need margarine or butter with that too. Um, so those four ingredients in equal parts, and then lay it on top of the apples and bake it. Keep checking it because I don't know the time, but it's like 375 for 25 minutes or something like that, and you get a really nice apple crumble. And that can be made pretty much in any size. If you figure out how much of the oat flour mixture you need to cover just even one serving, you can make it in one serving. Just be careful because you'll probably burn the first few of them. But you can make a single size apple crumble yourself. My stomach really hurts. So I think I'm going to end it there. Like I said, I think it's probably time we start thinking more spiritually on a daily basis. I think it's time we start talking about some of maybe the weird things that we have happened to us over the years. Because I think we need to stop running to, you're mentally ill if you think aliens exist, or you're mentally ill if you think, someone's attacking you spiritually. You're mentally ill if you think voodoo dolls exist, like all that kind of thing. Like we need to stop like shaming people. You're mentally ill if you want to leave the planet, like because we're all leaving. Well, that's what we thought. We're not leaving. I could have sworn there was an ad for a dog for adoption at the Cambridge Adoption Center. And I could have sworn I saw my dad's eyes in that, like my adoptive father has passed, in the eyes of that dog. And, the dog was female. My dad wasn't a very nice man at times. And the dog was female, but was massive. So it would have been very difficult to house because there's not too many females that can handle a big dog, and male dogs probably would have treated a female dog too aggressively. And if that female dog has a male spirit, then yeah, you're gonna get your arm ripped off, right? So yeah, considering the fact that someone like I present as a female, but I've often said that I think I have a male spirit. So I've when I shave my head or whatever, I get challenged all the time. Like people will just aggressively treat me. They'll try to cut me off. They'll change sides of the sidewalk to challenge me, and like just constantly pushing my boundaries. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Why would you pick a fight with me? And I'm not enjoying that. And if you name them on, like you call them on it, like I'm not doing anything, man. This is your problem. I'm not doing anything. But I'm seeing it often. For example, or just a car will pull up, to let me walk past, but they'll just pull up a little further than they should, to be comfortable. And I know it's just to victimize me. They just pull up, or someone who stands still a little bit too close to you. Or I've had people, there'll be a lineup of people and they'll stand beside you instead of behind you, like Canadians usually do. And I'm like, why are you standing beside me? The lineup is single file. I just feel like people are constantly trying to get me angry, and I don't really know how to handle it, except I just keep calling them on it. But I'm getting banned from places and arrested because people seem to be psychologically playing with me, and I seem paranoid. And people are like, "What's the big deal? Why don't you relax?" But the fact is that there are a lot of people who, if you don't say something, they will take your spot in line. And then I'm feeling like I'm being manipulated sexually in the spirit world too. I know that sounds bizarre, but I feel like I'm being manipulated internally, um, on some sort of spiritual realm, and I feel like someone is trying to um, invade my thoughts with their image, so that when I see that person, I'll fall in love with them, and they'll be my perfect partner. I know it sounds bizarre, but that's how I'm just sharing what I'm experiencing, and I don't really know how to protect myself. I found healing stones work really well, like large healing stones. Um, you know, I don't, if it is spiritual warfare, then they will be intimidated by things like crosses, um, spiritual things in general. So yeah, so Healing Stones, there's a store in Guelph called Soul Intentions. It's on Woolwich. Can't remember the crossing street, but it's called Soul Intentions. It's near Polestar Bakery. Yeah, they have healing stones there, and wands and things like that. But I highly suggest some larger size healing stones. Also I don't encourage it, but if you're just walking around the streets and a particular rock or pine cone or something catches your attention, you can bring those home. And I've been creating like little scenes, little powerhouse scenes where it's got some healing stones, some pine cones, or some earth things, some metal, some, just things like that. I also, for a while, had near my front door a bowl of like, it was basically just junky things. Like I had a healing stone that got broken by my landlord, my evil landlord. I had like metal, I had feathers, I had all kinds of things in this bowl. And basically, the idea was that whatever ugliness I have in my home, I leave in the bowl when I go out into the world. And whatever ugliness I have in the outside world, I put it in the bowl before I come in my home. And it was sort of a visual reminder that in my home, like, don't take, you know, my problems at home out to work with me or into the supermarket with me, and don't take, my problems in the supermarket into my home with me. Even though I lived alone, it's still, the other thing I find too is that if I have a situation that really bothers me and I have no one to talk to about it, getting a little tape recorder, or even our phones often have recording things, like a audio recording thing. And if I tell the story from start to finish at my pace, don't hurry it. If it's got some background stuff, I say the background stuff. But if I tell the story from start to finish, it stops ruminating through my head, the way it sometimes does if I can't get off a certain thing or I can't find a resolution for it. Maybe it's a much bigger problem, such as, stores or professionals overcharging for their services, for example, and them being out of reach of the everyday person. That's one thing that I vented about quite a bit one day. But yeah, so just if I can tell the whole story, start to finish, to a recorder, um, and then play it back. It stops ruminating through my head. I'm still in a lot of pain, so I'm going to continue to massage my belly, and as a last resort, I'll try the Pepcid. If I can't get this pain to go away, I will try the Pepcid. The other thing too is, anyway, I think I'll end it there. Yeah, so like I said, try staying in the moment. If you consider the fact that you're not leaving this planet ever, like in this form, what would you do differently? You know, what would you do differently if this body is all you've had forever? You don't get a new one. What if that was an option? Cheers.